Like, these jokers went out of their way to put on face masks, to do voice recognitions, to get cadences down. I mean, down to the point where these people, these wealthy business owners, world leaders, were being deceived into believing that there were some French hostages in Mali that they needed to save, and they needed to wire money in order to do it. There's some Mission Impossible stuff right here. I promise. I thought I was listening to I thought I was reading a report straight from Tom Cruise's movies. Like, that's just how elaborate these schemes were. And again, this happened over the span of 2 years and 80 million euros. That makes absolutely no sense. What's up, everybody? This is the Mad Hatter, and you are watching the Mad Hatter is Puzzle. I know some of y'all are probably like, why is he on in the middle of the day? Some of y'all may know, my daughter plays basketball, and she has a game tonight. And so my schedule of when I get to do things puzzling wise is always contingent upon what she's got going on during her weekly events. And so rather than try to squeeze in an episode later on today and then try to rush to get out the house and all that kind of stuff, I figured, let me go ahead and just do the podcast now. And so you are watching me live now as we are discussing some things that I am puzzled about this week. This week we're going to be talking about Billie Eilish's desire to get off of Instagram due to some comments that was made and directed toward her. We're also going to be talking about dreadlocks and how now, for some reason, if you have locks in your head, you could possibly get suspended from school and not even graduate from school. We're also going to be talking about a scheme, a 2.5-year-long scheme that siphoned millions of dollars away from prominent figures in France. And the Mission Impossible hoax that took those people's monies away. We're also gonna talk about a new leaning tower that is in Dallas, Texas, after a demolition went wrong, and how everyone's really excited, fearful at the same time about that. And then we're also going to talk about a former football player who decided to try to bring some drugs over the Mexican border, and now is facing up to 20 years for that. As a disclaimer, as always, no puzzle company or anything that you see, any equipment that I may be using has endorsed me in any way, shape, or form. My opinions are mine and mine alone. And so if I say something that is offensive to you in any type of way, please don't take it out on any company that I may be working on in terms of puzzles or what have you. Again, I'm not sponsored by anybody yet. I am in the market for sponsorship if someone does want to sponsor me, and so please, by all means, sponsor me if you wish. But again, I'm not sponsored by anyone, so these are all my opinions about some of the things that I'm just puzzled about throughout the week. Today, I am working on the puzzle by the Hinkler Company. I guess they title it Mind Bogglers as well. The puzzle entitled Grand Canal, Italy. This is the puzzle that I'm working on right now. Been making a lot of progress with it over the course of the past day or two, and hope to get finished with it by today's end. And so I may get a lot more progress done with it. I was actually burning through it before getting online with you guys. I almost forgot that to even press the button. That's how focused I was on trying to get this thing done. But that's the project that I'm working on right now. And so I'm going to be working on this while talking to you guys. Thank you, Lola Coco, for getting online and watching me today. Darius, I see you, man. Thank you for chiming in on today, as always. Love you, bruh. Christopher Connor, Pauline Johnson, Rhonda Chapman, thank y'all for joining me on today. If you have any comments or you have any questions or anything that you'd like me to answer or talk about, by all means, fill out the comment box below, and I'll try to get to any questions or comments as fast as I can. but at the same time, trying not to belabor too much of y'all's time. I know you're on your lunch break trying to get your eat on, so I'm gonna try not to bother y'all too long today. The first thing that I wanted to talk about today is the fact that Billie Eilish said that she stopped reading Instagram comments because it was ruining her life. And ever since she won 5 Grammy Awards recently, the comments have only gotten worse. This report was coming from Yahoo.com and said that Billie Eilish told the BBC Breakfast that she had stopped reading Instagram comments for the sake of her mental health. She said it was ruining her life once again. Her brother said, "I think you might see someone who is like a famous celebrity and you might think nothing sticks and stones, nothing I can say is going to actually be potent to them, but it all is. It's all very equal online." Eilish said that the online comments are now worse than they've ever been following her increase in profile and 5 Grammy wins this year at the awards. And so I wanted to bring this up today because I wanted to talk about the fact that a lot of us sometimes can feel as though the things that we do or say online have no impact on anyone else whatsoever. You guys know I talk about this a lot within my own podcast and things like that. That is kind of a double-edged sword of sorts in this walk that we're in when we decide to post things online. When we decide to go online and share what we share, we are opening ourselves up to criticism. But beyond just sharing things online, for those who are just in the limelight in general, they themselves are subjected to things and people on such a much grander scale than some of us can even comprehend. A lot of our celebrities today are dealing with a lot of social pressures and media pressures and the like in an attempt to continue to maintain their fame and their worth and make sales and things of that nature. And that obviously is going to come with, some backlash and some, vile comments coming from people from all sorts of walks of life. And so her decision, Billie Eilish's decision to get offline, to not read the comments, is not shocking to me. It's just really indicative of how caustic our world has become when it comes to the things that people are willing to say behind a computer screen. I myself had to learn how to kind of ignore a lot of the things that people are saying or have said to me in the past, because it can become a very vile, caustic place to deal in the realm of social media. I think I was listening to T.D. Jakes one day when he said that he was asked one day to write for a column for a newspaper, and he said that he wrote, and it was a very awesome experience for him being able to write whatever it was that he wrote at the time. And he was expecting a lot of praise, a lot of rave reviews, and of course, obviously being T.D. Jakes, he did get those, but he also got a lot of negative comments from a lot of people. And he realized that that he was not prepared for it, because he was trying to respond to everything. Every time somebody did a negative comment, he would try to respond right back and try to correct and all this other stuff. And it consumed a lot of his time and his energy. And I think he said that one of the editors he was talking to said, "Why are you spending so much time trying to answer all these negative comments?" And he said, "Because I want to be able to prove my point, defend my turf, and make sure that people understand where I'm coming from." And she had to advise him that no matter what you say or no matter what you do, people are always going to have something negative to say. So you have to just kind of learn in the realm of social media to just let people say what they're going to say and move on, because they're going to sit behind a chair and sit behind a desk and say whatever they want to say and do whatever they want to do, and they have the luxury of not having to face a person face to face and say what they really feel. And so when I saw the story about Billie Eilish, it kind of broke my heart a little bit because again, she's just a musician, she's just an artist that's going out there and making music and trying to make people feel good and send messages out there, whatever they might be. But again, people are always going to have something negative to say about anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be her, it could be me, it could be anybody. Not everyone. We are not everyone's cup of tea. And so when we are out there and we're doing the things that we're doing, we're gonna obviously face some type of backlash, whether it be minor or whether it be major. But I am in total support of what she said that she did in terms of not reading the comments anymore, because again, though the world that we live in today is so caustic, and a lot of people just do not care. They are going to say what they want to say, how they want to say it, when they want to say it, and don't really care about the other person, the person that they're directing those comments to. And so it's just a reminder to guard our own hearts and to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to ensure that despite how others may feel about us, that we are confident in ourselves. It's not to go to a place of arrogance to say, bump what anyone ever has to say, but it just reminds us that, the people that we ought to allow in the space to, tell us who we are, what we're made of, who we ought to be, correcting us when we're, wrong, and helping us to be the better versions of ourselves. Those are the ones whose opinions matter the most. That we don't have to subject ourselves to the negativity of those who don't have that much of an impact on our lives in the grand scheme of things. But again, it's still, at the same time, words do hurt. And we would do well to just, before we hit send, remember that these are people, regardless of whether we know them or not, whether they're celebrities or whether they're quote-unquote nobodies. And again, no one's a nobody, but you know what I'm trying to say. But to just be mindful that our words matter, and that our words do have the power to hurt, and they do have the power to heal. And so whether you're, like me and just a commentator on things out there, or whether you're considered what the internet would call a troll, just be mindful of what you're saying, and be mindful of the fact that what you say can impact somebody else. And it's a sad state of affairs where we have to remind ourselves that, sticks and stones may break bones and words never hurt, and be reminded that, yeah, they actually do. With so many people that are, wanting to, hurt themselves, especially in the mental health field, I see it all the time of people wanting to hurt themselves, wanting to kill themselves, because of something that somebody else said. It's one of those things where we, again, just have to be mindful that, our words matter. Hey, how you doing, Faith? It's good to see you on the Instagram. Thank you for your viewership today. But just be mindful that what we say matters, and that people do have a heart, they do have a conscience, they do have feelings, and that we have to be careful that we're not just going out there saying all things willy-nilly, and then just throw our hands up and say, oh well, I didn't mean anything about it, I was just playing, it wasn't that deep, it wasn't that serious. Because you never know when the thing that you said to somebody actually was the reason why they decided to do the unthinkable, when it could have been avoided by not just what you say, but it's how you say it. On another note, I wanted to talk about the fact that we had this guy, this ex-Browns lineman, Greg Robinson, who is now facing 20 years in prison because he decided to try to smuggle 157 pounds. 157 pounds. I weigh 170, depending upon what day it is and how much chocolate I put inside my belly. But so 157 pounds, that's about the size and the weight of me. 157 pounds of marijuana. According to the report, the former Cleveland Browns offensive lineman Greg Robinson was arrested by Border Control agents Monday for possession of marijuana. Robinson was allegedly found with 157 pounds of marijuana in duffel bags in the cargo area of a vehicle at the U.S.-Mexico border. It says that Robinson and Jaquan Bray, the alleged driver, face charges of conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute marijuana and possession with intent to distribute. And they each face up to 20 years in jail. And so here we go. I love listening to Stephen A. Smith when he's talking about sports athletes and the fact that a lot of them still have a problem with weed. And so I really kind of just piggyback off of his feelings toward the matter of marijuana in terms of making sure that we're following the laws. Now, I recognize and understand that the laws are changing, and so I'm not here to debate whether the good, bad, or indifference of using marijuana. As a Christian, I don't believe in really doing drugs of any kind, but that's another conversation for another day. What I'm basically want to talk about today is the fact that, man, there are laws out there, bruh, and 157 pounds of weed. Like, again, I weigh 170 pounds on a good day. 157 pounds, like that's me. Like you basically brought me over the border with intent to do something with it. I don't know if you meant to smoke it yourself or whether you were deciding that you're going to sell it or what, but it's 157 pounds. And although the laws are definitely in need of being revised and changed to reflect the times and all that jazz, these are the laws that are currently in place. And for you to risk life and limb and family and all that for the sake of wanting to bring some weed over the border, it just doesn't make good sense. Like, bro, what are you doing? Like, and from the report that I read, this isn't the first time that Mr. Robinson has been in trouble. They said, the former number 2 overall pick hasn't lived up to expectations. Initially drafted by the Rams, regarded as a bust. It was bounced around. The Browns had no interest, and so it wasn't really even about the fact that he was, a bad person. But at the same time, it's like he was basically doing something that was so egregiously illegal that, again, it just is what it is. And my whole thing is that the laws are where they are today. Now, we know again that laws are changing, they're shifting, and they're moving around, and we're gonna eventually, I believe, get to a place where marijuana becomes legalized nationwide. But until that time, these are the laws that we have to deal with, and these are the laws that we have to play with. These are the confines in which we have to operate in. And so again, it's just another disappointing factor in the fact that someone that's as high profile as him got caught up in some mess and got caught up in such a way to where now he's got to face this extremely high amount of time in prison. I personally, I don't know if it's worth 20 years, but that's again another conversation for another day. Baby Girl 09 asks, what do you feel about CBD oil? For me, I believe that as long as it's legal, hey, do what you do. And it actually comes from a personal place for me. One of my family members is suffering with unspeakable pain. And with all the medications that have been tried, nothing has been working. And so she actually is looking to see if there is some alternative methods out there so that that pain can kind of be eradicated and be able to do the physical therapy necessary to kind of get back to a better physical condition. And so again, if it's legal, if you have the ability to do it in a legal way, by all means, do what you do. Again, I don't have any problems with it whatsoever. Just as long as, once again, we remember that regardless of the legality of it, that there are certain areas, like with me, for instance, in law enforcement, whether it becomes legal or not, if my job says that you can't use it, then if they catch it in my system and I lose my job, I can't argue the legal ramifications of it just because it's legal. My boss may still believe, and my bosses may still believe, hey, we don't want it in your system. And so, again, legal wise, hey, do what you do. As long as it's not hurting anybody else and it's within the legal realm, then you do what you feel you're able to do. But again, in this particular case, trying to smuggle 157 pounds over the border, clearly, man, come on now. Come on. Like, if it was that serious, go to Colorado, where it's legal. Go to all these other states, like in Massachusetts, where it's legal, and you can do all the smuggling and the weed and whatever you want to do all day long, and you ain't got to worry about nobody putting you in handcuffs, man. You want to smuggle 157 pounds of weed there, then by all means go to a state where it's legalized, and you ain't got to worry about that kind of stuff. But again, that's just me. Right, exactly, yeah. Definitely had some intent there. I don't think he was going to try to do it all on his own. But again, what do I know? Maybe he had some party going on and he was ready to go and have a good time and he figured, let me get this stuff in Mexico. I don't know. The point is, just be smart, man. Just be smart about it. Like, if you're going to do it, by all means do it, but do it in a way that's legal, where you're not going to get yourself hemmed up, not going to get in trouble. Make sure that it's not going to get you in trouble with the laws of your job or whatever the case is. But again, just be mindful. Be mindful that, again, regardless of what we think is right or wrong, if it's the law, it's the law. We have to abide by it. And in doing so, just pray that we do everything that is, pleasing in the eyes of God and in the eyes of the law. The next thing I wanted to talk about today, kind of in the same line of rules and things like that, is the story about this kid who was suspended from school and was told that unless he cuts his dreadlocks, he is not going to be able to graduate. Athletes, creatives, and other celebrities are showing their support for one Texas teen who risked not walking in his graduation because of his dreadlocks. He was suspended and told he couldn't attend his high school graduation ceremony unless he adhered to the school district's dress code by cutting his dreadlocks. Arnold is a senior at Barbers Hill High School in Mont Bellevue. And he said until recently his hair had been in compliance with school rules. His mother confirmed that after Christmas break, 3 months before graduation, Barbers Hill Independent School District changed its dress code as it pertains to hair. Now the rules say that hair must be clean and well groomed and not extend below the eyebrows, the earlobes, or the top of a t-shirt collar on male students, including when the hair is let down. They say that even though my hair is up and I follow all the regulations, that if it was down, it would be out of dress code. Not that I'm out of dress code, but that if it was to be taken down, I would be out of dress code, which doesn't make any sense. I don't take it down at school. And just a little bit more on this. The Arnold, whose father is from Trinidad, said he's worn his dreadlocks for years, similar to many men in the family. I really like that part of the Trinidadian culture, so I really embrace that. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up today is because, first off, just as an aside, Baby Girl 09, yeah, that's what's up. Please take pictures and let me see what she sees over there, because dadgum, that sounds like an awesome time going there on vacation. But yeah, what I wanted to bring up today was the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, Ricky Smiley got on his radio show and said something to the effect of, for a kid who has dreadlocks in his hair, he gets suspended from school and everyone's up in arms. But for a kid to want to wear a dress, everyone's clapping and celebrating. Now, me personally, I think that it's trying to compare apples to oranges. And I say that because although I understand the fallout that is taking place from the fact that this kid has been suspended from school, not able to come back to school until, he gets his hair, situation straightened out, and the like. At the same time, I feel as though it's arguing two different points. And so I'm kind of, I'm not going to say upset. That's not the word I want to use. But I'm kind of saddened, I guess, that this situation is now being used to try to prove a different point. And what I mean by that is, I don't think that, because if I'm getting it correctly, I don't think that Dwayne Wade's situation with his son is this same situation. And I feel as though we're in that circumstance once again, where you have to choose to be on one side or the other. Now, like I said last week about Dwayne Wade's parenting situation, you parent your child how you want to parent your child. I'm not here to tell Dwayne Wade how he should parent his child. You do what you do. You do how you feel. And like I said last week, I wish that I would have had the courage to talk to my parents about my sexuality the way that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union have been able to talk to their kids about their sexuality. I'm not knocking them for that at all, because I wish that I would have had the courage at 10, 11, 12 years old to be able to have candid conversations about, sexuality and things of that nature with my parents. I was so afraid of sex and girls and all that kind of stuff that, I didn't talk to my parents about it until I was well into high school at that point. And even then, I still didn't know what the crap I was talking about. So again, I think it's a wonderful thing that they're able to have those hard conversations with their children. And I wish that more parents would be able, or if they're not already, to have those tough conversations with their children, because if they're not going to have it with their children, they're going to have it with someone else. But again, I feel as though they're using this situation with this kid and his dreads and not being able to graduate until he cuts his hair as a straw man to talk about something completely out of bounds, I guess is the word I'm looking for. In that, I don't think that these situations are similar. I think in Dwayne Wade's situation, he's saying that he is allowing his child the freedom to express himself the way that he chooses to express himself, and is going to love him regardless of how his child chooses to express himself. That it is much easier to allow his child to explore his sexuality much like any other child would, whether hetero or homosexual, instead of being a parent that's just going to bash their child for trying to figure this thing out. That's completely different from this situation where you have a school district that changed its rules in the middle of the school year for whatever reason they decided to change their rules. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair that this school district decided in the middle of the school year to change their dress code, and in doing so, not just change their dress code, but now say that the child, say that this kid can't graduate from high school because of what he might do. It's not that he went to school one day with his dreads down and he's violating dress code. No, he's been compliant with the dress code even before they changed the dress code. Again, according to the report, he says that he's always worn his dreads up. He's never worn his dreads down. He's always worn his hair in a respectful way, and has never been one to be disrespectful in any way toward anyone with his hairstyle. And so all of a sudden, for this school district to change their rules and to punish him on what he might do, it's like, so now we're charging people, and we're basically charging kids on the suspicion of what they could do instead of it actually being what they actually did. And we're punishing this kid who for all intents and purposes hasn't caused any problems, any trouble whatsoever at this school. We're now, keeping him from being able to walk along with his classmates and celebrate one of the crowning achievements in a kid's life. And it's like, at what point do we stop and say to ourselves as people that, what are we doing? What are we really doing? And why are we doing this? Now, again, I don't know if there's racial undertones in line with it, because I ain't there. I'm not in the room. I only see what I see through the stories that I read. So I can't sit up here and say that there is some, racial overtones or whatever the case is. But it does seem kind of strange that, this is where the lines have been drawn. And I don't know. I just, again, it's this weird place. It's this really, really weird place. And I feel bad for the school because everyone in all of the media has been in full support of this kid. He's been invited to, attend award ceremonies. He was there for the Oscars. The person who won the animation of the year for Hair Love invited him and spoke out against, the injustices of profiling in whatever case it might be. And, he's got to do a lot of great stuff. And so it's like, at the end of the day, I'm with you, because I'm reading, Baby Girl 09, who's saying, the hair will not stop you from learning. Let him wear it the way he wants. They need to worry about the kids bullying the little boy and now wants to kill himself because of it, and stop worrying about stuff that isn't causing issues and worry about the stuff that is. My point, that's my sentiments exactly. It's like, at what point do we stop trying so hard to, I don't know, it's like fit people in this mold, man. Like you have to fit inside this box in order to perform it. It kind of goes back to a lot of things that I see happening in church, and I think I'm about to get on a little tirade, but y'all just kind of walk with me through this. Like, our walk is not about performance; it's about who we are, and allowing our walk with God, for instance, to allow us to be the fullest expression of who we are as it pertains to walking with Him. That He's not looking for performance. He's not looking for us to be fit in this mold, in this shape, to say, okay, now I accept you, now I love you, now I want you a part of my kingdom. No, He accepts us as we are, recognizing that He's going to transform us over time, but He accepts us as we are because He recognizes and He gives us the ability to see within ourselves that we cannot change who we are, and be able to fit in the kingdom. He has to change us Himself. And it just seems like no matter where we are, no matter how many steps forward we take in this society, there's always this caveat that's going to take a few steps backward and say that unless you fit this mold, unless you look this way, unless you dress this way, unless you act this way, you can't do this, you can't do that. And just as Baby Girl 09 is saying, so now instead of dealing with the real issues of the bullying and the hatred and all those sort of things, instead we're dealing with things that don't even matter. Like, who was being bothered by his hair? Really? Who was being bothered by it? Was it a teacher? Was it a student? Was it a parent? If that's the case, why didn't they have a conversation with the parent to say, hey, I'm sorry you feel this way, but this kid ain't, or what, the hair is not causing any issues. Hair is not causing any problems. Like, if they did do it for altruistic reasons, the only reason I can see them wanting to change a rule like this so impromptu is, one, because some parent got mad, or they were trying to keep kids from pulling each other's hair. I don't know. Then again, that's just me spitballing at this point, because I don't know what reason they could come up with to try to justify changing the rule the way that they did. But one thing that I do know is that I wish to the high heaven that, we could get past all of these stereotypical ideas of what success looks like, what being a good child looks like, and just allow kids to express themselves the way that they choose to express themselves in a way that is beneficial for themselves, for their personal growth, for their well-being. And again, if he was causing problems in the school, then by all means do what you got to do. But if he's not causing any problems in the school, then leave the kids alone, man. Leave their hair alone. Stop all this madness. Because at the end of the day, all you're gonna do is make a whole bunch of people mad. And now we got all these celebrities coming up that are raising Cain, raising sand, and justifiably so. Because I'd be raising Cain too if somebody said to me that my daughter needed to, change her hairstyle or else she wasn't gonna graduate. I'd be just a little ticked off about that too. The next thing I wanted to talk about today was the fact that the demolition crew mucked up basically when they failed to destroy this building, and it became the Leaning Tower of Dallas. Building was supposed to come down Sunday morning, but a failed demolition left it with a distinctive tilt and nicknamed the Leaning Tower of Dallas. The implosion was part of the Central, which is a 27-acre, $2.5 billion development project that will bring an office building, a hotel, eateries, and other amenities to an area just north of downtown Dallas. But nearly 300 pounds of dynamite wasn't enough to topple the old building on the development site. Basically, I just found it a little puzzling. No particular reason whatsoever. Just found it kind of funny, really, that they weren't able to bring this thing down like they wanted to and created this leaning tower. One person even said in the report that, she was thinking about taking a trip to Paris, France, so she could see the Leaning Tower of Pisa there, but now won't have to make the trip. And let me make sure I said that right, because I don't think the Leaning Tower is in France. Well, I don't know where it is. Maybe it is in France, maybe it's not. But she said that she probably didn't need to go traveling now, or can at least postpone it for the foreseeable future, because now she's got a leaning tower that she can stand, she can go and drive around and see in her own backyard. And again, just kind of found it a little comical that once again we found a company whose one job is to, do something, and the job didn't get done. Last week I told y'all about the moving company that messed up, this lady's piano. This $200,000 piano. And for some reason, she just couldn't they couldn't get it down the walk properly, and ended up dropping it, destroying it. And now we have a whole demolition crew that can't seem to demolish stuff. And so again, I know people make mistakes all the time. I am not immune to those mistakes myself. And so again, it's not that I'm really knocking on them or anything like that. I just kind of find it comical that they weren't able to knock it down like they wanted to the first time around. They'll probably end up getting it right the second time. So no worries on in anyone's case. But again, just kind of found it a little comical that that's where we're at right now. That people still don't know how to knock down people's buildings. You've been doing it for forever long, and for some reason it just didn't work out the first time. They'll probably go back in and the report said they're actually going to go in and just knock the rest of it down with a wrecking ball. No one was hurt, no issues, anything like that. So unfortunately, they'll be able to get it. They'll be able to get it right eventually, but they just didn't get it right that day. The last thing that I want to talk about today, and then I'll leave y'all alone, is the fact that there was a heist that went down over the span of 2 years, and it affected 150 people, and it was multi-million dollars. Pretty much. Let me see. I'm just going to read the story in its entirety since I got time tonight, or today rather. This report comes from CNN, and this is Paris, France, in which this incident occurred. There was a sense of urgency in the voice of the man claiming to be France's defense minister. We're talking about the lives of French citizens. We would like to free them. If we don't, we expect the worst. I need to know if you can join us in this mission so we can carry it out. And if the answer is yes, then I will alert the presidency to say we have someone who can act as a mediator for us. On the receiving end of the telephone was this particular Frenchman who heads a company in Niger. And he was being asked to wire $2 million to help free French hostages being held by terrorists in Mali. The voice said France needed this guy's help transferring funds because officially the country does not pay ransoms, and gave assurances that France's central bank would reimburse him. The voice was the man said that he was suspicious, but he could not have imagined the extent of the scam that was being played on him. Not only were there no French hostages in Mali, but he had just become the latest victim in a multi-million-dollar con that would span 2 years and target more than 150 people, including spiritual leader Aga Khan, the president of Niger, the prime minister of Norway, the archbishop of Lyon, the owner of Chateau Margaux, Chateau Margaux Wines, the King of Belgium, the director of UNESCO, and numerous CEOs. Attempts to extort money from embassies and governments were made in more than 50 countries, according to French court documents. CNN contained exclusive recordings made by often skeptical victims, showing how a group of fraudsters tried to pull off what some in France are calling the scam of the century by impersonating France's then defense minister, Jean-Yves Le Drian, and conning wealthy individuals out of 80 million euros. Again, 80 million euros, purportedly to help pay ransoms to help free French hostages being held by Islamic terrorist groups. Let me tell y'all something. Now, I remember we talked earlier, I think it was 2 weeks ago, about a phishing scam that took money from a school. And I was all up in arms saying that y'all need to make sure y'all are checking y'all's emails and all that kind of stuff, and making sure that people ain't trying to scam y'all or nothing, and all that jazz. But let me say this. I didn't know that these people were going to these extreme lengths to be trying to get people's money. Like, this is some Mission Impossible stuff right here. Talking about face masks. The report said that they had actually built this room that looked like the actual French embassy person's room, but it was just a little dialed down, and they said that they had to dial it down because they were in a bunker. Like, these jokers went out of their way to put on face masks, to do voice recognitions, to get cadences down. I mean, down to the point where these people, these wealthy business owners, world leaders, were being deceived into believing that there were some French hostages in Mali that they needed to save, and they needed to wire money in order to do it. There's some Mission Impossible stuff right here. I promise. I thought I was listening to I thought I was reading a report straight from Tom Cruise's movies. Like, that's just how elaborate these schemes were. And again, this happened over the span of 2 years and 80 million euros. That makes absolutely no sense. No sense whatsoever. Like, I'm just sitting here baffled in my mind, like, oh my goodness, 80 million euros from all these different leaders. Like, wasn't nobody talking to nobody to say, hey, we got some situation going on in Mali, we need to check this out. And be like, nah, bro, ain't nothing happening in Mali. No one thought to call the country of Mali to be like, hey, we getting this call from the French minister, like, what's really going on? Like, I understand. You know, that in the heat of the moment, you know, you're just trying to help and just trying to be, you know, a good citizen, and trying to be, you know, helpful in that regard. But again, with nobody talking to nobody for 2 years, over 2 years, 80 million euros, man. No one was talking to anyone. This is why it's so imperative that in any situation that we find ourselves in, you got to communicate. You got to talk to somebody. When you're talking about giving your money to a cause, or giving your money, or giving anything, resources or whatever, you got to do your homework. You got to do your research and make sure that these things are legit, because there are some scammers out there, and they are crafty now. Man, again, They had face masks, man, and I'm not talking about like Freddy Krueger or not Freddy Krueger, Jason or the Michael Myers from Halloween. No, they had on prosthetics like Mission Impossible, looking like the Prime Minister of France, man. Like, who does that? Who does that? Apparently these people do, and they put on a good show so that they can get some money from people. And so, again, y'all just be careful out there. Be careful, because if you're not, then someone may take your money from you, may take your funds, and that's a wrap. It's a wrap on the rest of the day. Because again, now I'm praying and hoping that these people get their money back. But that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. They did catch some of them, and they're being tried and prosecuted. They didn't catch it. They haven't caught them all yet, but they're getting close, I believe, on catching everybody that has been involved. But again, man, it's just all the more reason why you got to be careful, whether you're a CEO or whether you're some little old lady who's, watching commercials on TV. You got to be so careful that you're not, just giving your money out all willy-nilly, not giving your resources out all willy-nilly to whoever says that they're in need. We got to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to ensure that monies or help or whatever is going to the right place, because these scammers are crafty and they pull on people's heartstrings. And I think that's the saddest part for me, as a kind of an aside. Like, they pull on people's heartstrings, knowing that people want to help, knowing that people want to, make a difference, knowing that people are willing to do what's necessary to be there for others, and they play and they prey on those feelings. And so again, y'all just be careful out there when you're wanting to give to good causes and things like that. I mean, for real, that's what I'm saying, baby girl. Like, that's how I feel. Like, it's like, how do y'all go about the business of coming up with something so elaborate and being able to pull it off? That's the thing. They were able to pull it off. My mind just was again blown away that they were able to pull that off and pull it off for 2 years, 150 people, 80 million euros. Like, dude, like that just make my little Cash App account look like whatever. If I ever decide to post it up and say, hey, y'all want to give me some money today, like it puts it all to shame, because again, these people were so elaborate. And so again, y'all just be careful, be mindful, be ever so watchful, that whenever you feel someone's asking for assistance, that you make sure that it's legit, that you make sure that you're doing your homework. Because again, there's nothing wrong with wanting to help somebody. There's nothing wrong with wanting to try to lend a helping hand, but you got to make sure that it's going to the right place, because these people are so crafty nowadays, man. You be thinking that you're giving it to the right place, but all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where you're asking for your money back, and people gonna be saying, I can't help you. Baby girl 09 asked if I heard about the 11-year-old that gave birth in the tub, and it was the brother that did it. I heard about the story, and I wanted to click on it, but then I got busy with something, and so I didn't get a chance to click on it like I wanted to. What I'm gonna do today, since you brought it up, is I'm gonna go back and read that story and see, what happened, because I heard about it, but I didn't follow up with it. I saw like a little blurb, and then I think my phone rang, and it caused me to have to go out and do what I needed to do work-wise, and so I didn't get a chance to see that story in its totality. But I do want to follow up on that, so I'll make sure that I follow up on that story later on, and who knows, I may either do it like a little afterthought, or may have that be a headline for next week's podcast. Because I didn't get a chance to see it like I wanted to. So that's pretty much all that I have for today. Otherwise, unless someone chimes in really quickly before I get out of here, I'm going to show you all the progress that I've made on the puzzle real quick before I let y'all go. Again, I've been working on the Grand Canal puzzle. And I got all the puzzle pieces kind of sitting on the puzzle, so you can't really see the full progress like I would hope you could. But this is the puzzle that I've been working on since I've been talking with y'all. Got a lot accomplished in talking to y'all this time around. And so that's the puzzle I've been working on. Again, that's the box. That's what I've been working on today. and just had an awesome time with you all today. If y'all have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to write me at any time. I'm always available. I'm available here on Instagram. The handle at the Mad Hatter I am. I'm available on Facebook through Mad Hatter Puzzle Art. I'm also on YouTube on Mad Hatter Puzzle Art as well. And if you do see anything that you like over the course of the time that you are journeying with me in this puzzle journey that I'm in, feel free to look me up on Mercari. I've started uploading some of my finished work there. And if you are interested in getting anything that I have completed, feel free to let me know. And I will be more than happy to start a conversation with you about prices and things like that. If you see on my wall, I do have some artwork that is available for you. What you see right now is the rainbow picture is Gallison's Now House by Jonathan Adler. Right there in the middle up top is the Four Horses of the Apocalypse. Down below it is Tower Bridge. I call it Carmen because somebody said it looked like Carmen Sandiego at one time. And I also have many other puzzles that I have completed. And so feel free, like I said, at any time to just hit me up and let me know if you see something that you like, and we can talk and negotiate prices and things like that. Thank you all once again so much for your viewership. I really do appreciate the time that y'all have spent with me today. I do know that your time is precious, and so I try not to waste a whole lot of yours. Thank y'all once again so much for just taking the time out to talk with me, to watch me bloviate over things that sort of matter, but in the grand scheme of things might not. I'm not sure. But those are things that I was puzzled about nonetheless. And more importantly than anything else, y'all just love each other. You never know when your last day here on earth is going to be. Love one another, love hard, and love like it's your last day. Don't be afraid to tell your best friend that you love them. Don't be afraid to tell your mom, your dad you love them. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone every now and then just say, hey, I was thinking about you, and just wanted to let you know that I am thinking about you and that I love you. You never know when the last time will be when you will see your loved ones, when you see your family members, when you see your friends. Just make sure that you love them as hard as you can, and let them know that regardless of what the future may hold, that we know who holds the future, and that we got nothing but mad love for all of y'all. Y'all be well. I'll see y'all next week on The Mad Hatter Is Puzzled.